Welcome to another ad hoc podcast, completely off the top of the dome. I don't know what I'm going to talk about. Several subjects I have in mind. Probably ducks, fishes, insects, vegetables. I haven't decided. Or Roman emperors, ancient Roman emperors. That sounds like an interesting topic. Ancient Greece. I don't know what I'm going to talk about. Ancient Egypt. I don't know. Textiles. I already brainstormed about it once. I don't want to do something that is relevant, like coronavirus. Okay, let's do that. I mean, what do you call that? Biochemistry, genetics. Mendel. Was it Mendel? Gregory Mendel, the inventor of genetics. He did all those seeds. I did those interbreeding of seeds and like grafting and shit. Grafting is like a term. I used to have a dictionary, like a agricultural dictionary and like gardening dictionary. So that's how I learned about. I didn't learn about grafting. I mean, I learned of the term grafting. What other like agricultural term are there? So genetics, like yeah, you graft, and then, excuse me, you do hybrids, interbreeding, and genetics. You combine the genetics to create new species. So he was the first founder of genetics, and then we have biogenetics, biochemistry, like freaking biomedicine, biochemical engineering, and now we have and then the DNA strand, deoxyribonucleic acid, what is it, acetyl guanine, I don't know, ACGT, I don't know what guanine or guanine, I think, acetate, ATCG, anyway, ATGC. So what is C? Cyto something? I don't know. So anyway, and then the chromosomes. So I wonder what the timeline is like. Because Gregory Mendel was probably when around in the 1700s or 1600s. I know it was in 1800s. That's like a little too late. And then we have the Darwin and Linnaeus, the other major figures. So he was a priest. He was not Franciscan. I don't know what was his order, and how many types of order are there? Like there are those Capuchin monks, Trappists, and the Vesper, like the events of the time frame of the not the time frame, the schedule of the monks rather. But I'm getting sidetracked. So, or maybe we should talk about like monks, like Franciscan monks, medieval monks, and Gregory Mendel. I don't even know what I'm going to talk about. Maybe I should pick a topic and just stick to it. But your order of monks sounds like an interesting topic. I mean, because the monks have their. Yeah, let's talk about the famous monks of history. So we have Gregory Mendel, we have Abelard. Was Abelard a monk? And then we have the Saint Augustine, and we have Saint Anselm. But they were the saints too, but they're also monks. And then who are the other monks? Was Martin Luther wasn't a monk? You know, the original 192 Theses. Yeah, let's talk about monks, like European Western monks, Christian monks. That sounds like an interesting thing to riff about. And then there was Hippo. No, was it Hippo? Saint Augustine of Hippo, and then there was Hippolyta. I don't know who was Hippolyta. And I mean, yeah, I need to brush up on my fucking Christian monks uh, database, my medieval monks database. Oh, Francis Bacon, duh, the most famous monk of all, the founder of science, I guess. Sir Francis Bacon. Was he a monk? I mean, wow. So I mean, yeah, cause I'm not, cause when was the last time you brush up on your fucking Franciscan monks, when showing up for your fucking McDonald's shift? I mean, when was the last time that came into use, right? So And then there was the friar, like Friar Tuck in Robin Hood. Um, what about Bede? Was Bede a monk? Then again, when does a monk become a saint? Bede was a monk. Yeah, I know that. Okay. Oh, now I remember. There was another guy. There was another guy. Saint. No, I used to have his book, like Clairvaux or something. Clairvaux, Saint Clairvaux. I don't know where his book is. I can't even. I know it's in my book. Oh, I see it now. Saint Bernard of Clairvaux. Yeah, so Saint Bernard. And I mean, I wonder who other monks are. Saint Francis of Assisi was essentially was a monk. I mean, and then you have the orders, the Capuchin, Trappist, and what is Franciscan, and Saint Simeon. I mean, stylites like. And then there were those Hesychiasm. How do you pronounce it? Hesychiastic, I think. Hesychiast. But those are the ancient orders. I don't even know if they were in Greek or. And because you got the Coptic order, the Saint Catholic, I mean not Catholic, Coptic order of the Egyptian Coptic Church. Because there are a lot of Christians in those areas: Egypt, Jordan, Libya, I think Lebanon, not Libya, like, and so in Syria, especially Syria. They have all this Christian, and the lineage goes back to this, I guess, more those. I mean, if you trace back, sure, why not those Hesychiast or the other orders, and then you have the Greek orders. I mean, what do you essentially call a monk? Like, you have your typical Christian monk with the whole cowl and everything, and the Vesper, you're doing his Vesper chanting, and the Gregorian chant, and then what does Gregorian originate from? The Gregorian calendar. So I'm sure it comes from probably Saint Gregory. Who was Saint Gregory? Okay, so and so you got your monks in the cowl, and what are some monasteries? I mean, I'm sure there's some in Spain. Alhambra is not a monastery. Was it a monastery? No, I don't think so. But they have that Alhambra type of shape. Because here in California we have our what do you call that? San Juan Capistrano, the monastery there. I forgot. I mean, now I'm drawing blank. Um, yeah, San Juan Capistrano. I went there actually, and we got the whole. Then again, you got your monks and your saints, and then you got your Christian missionary. But are monks different from the Christian missionaries in some what sense? Was Guru Jeff a monk? I don't think so. What do you call it? Essentially define a monk, a monastery. And monastery, I mean, yeah. So essentially, the San Juan Capistrano is a monastery or not? No, I don't know. And I'm drawing blank on the terms too. Only Vesper is coming. And the only reason Vesper is coming is because there's a Honda, like a motorcycle called Vespa. Back in the days when I was growing up, when I was like fucking 6 or something. And I used to have a T-shirt with all the Vespa. Like, I guess those scooters. Probably it was Vespa. I know. Who knows? So Vesper is in the evening, I think. And you got Cistern. Cistern is different. And you got a Cistercian or some monk or something. You got Cistercian monk. Cistern is also a what? Like a church term. Is that like a vase? Not a vase. I don't know. What is a cistern? And you have the Sistine Chapel. What is Sistine? Sistine does entirely different. Rhyme is kind of like a homophone, but it's not. So we have Capuchin monks, Trappists. What are the Trappists? Because you have all the different denominations and whatnot. I mean, you have different numismatic branches of Christian denominations. Like each have their own Orthodox, like Protestant and Reformer and Saint Anselm, Saint Augustine, and because there was another guy who was their precursor. Obviously, then there was Saint Augustine of Hippo or not? Pelagius also a monk. I don't know. I just know the name from Alan Watts, Pelagius, but I mean, I know he was a like biggie, one of those big guys. Saint Anselm. I mean, oh, Aquinas, Saint Aquinas, Aquinas. Okay, and then we had Franciscan. So essentially, monks. What is this? And suddenly the rift started developing between because it was heavily steeped in Christian culture, the West in the Western like Europe. I mean Europe basically, and there was this whole Christian influence dominance, and they started enveloping Aristotelian syllogism and Aristotelian logic to justify, and the science started to develop. Or science already? When did science really start developing? Like with Aristotle and Plato. So you got your Greece and you got your Rome, and from the pagan religion there was this movement towards Christianity, towards science rather, and there's a unique blend of science and Christianity, and then the rift began again with the Darwin, but in later, but with probably even Galileo, and I mean you got your who was the other guy who burned at stake? Giordano Bruno, and Copernicus didn't I think die, but Archimedes also died for sin, not sin, I mean for science. So you got your martyrs of science, and so we got Francis Bacon, and then we have Gregory Mendel, obviously another monk. I don't know what was the order, and then you got your Blaise Pascal, who was a Jansenist. Was he a Jansenist? I think he was a Jansenist. Blaise Pascal. What is a Jansenism? Yeah, sounds like Jainism, but it's not. It's Jansenism. Blaise Pascal was a, and then you got your Emmanuel Swedenborg. Swedenborg was also. I don't think he was a Jansenist. What was Swedenborg? Emmanuel Swedenborg, the great, like freaking 200 IQ polymath, like metallurgy and everything. Christian mystique. So you got your Swedenborg, and Swedenborg is from Sweden, and so what else? You got your Catholic monks, and then the monks monastery is in the influence in, and there's obviously the Portuguese influence, and in especially South America, you know the Celestine prophecy, they have the monasteries there, so because they have their own. There's another flavor of Christianity when after the Portuguese like exported it to other different parts, and then you got your Christian missionaries in India and like those Southeast Asia and Indonesia, as far as I guess Philippines or something, probably, yeah, all over, I guess, basically Africa, monasteries in Africa. I mean, but and then you got your Christian spread, the diasporas or rather, and damn, I make Joe Rogan sound like fucking Einstein here. Oh shit. So, okay. Started with I wanted to talk about biogenetics, but that's not my forte. So I mean, as if my fucking like monks or my medieval Christian monks are my forte either, neither. So, Capuchin, Trappist, Why do they call them Trappists? Like, what's the origin of that? And there's this Claire, Saint Bernard of Clairvaux. I mean, there's this temptation to reach for the book, but then I don't want to adulterate, like, impurify the fucking whole this pure process of just fucking spitting straight off the dome. Because usually what I do, I make all these podcasts, and I'm like, after I make the clock podcast yesterday, I looked up horology. That's what's really called, the study of clocks, horology. So that's what I'm gonna do. That's the whole shtick. That's the whole fucking gig. I ad hoc I make a podcast about it, and then afterwards I see what I don't know, what are my really blind spots are. So I initially create a matrix in my head, like brainstorm it, and then later fill in the blanks. And I think that's a good way, fast way to learn about it. Because first I'm talking about it in Aikido, they made us teach straight from the get go. It's almost like, what do you know? And I thought, like, we thought you have to be a teacher to teach, but it's like when you regurgitate that lesson you have been just imparted upon, if you regurgitate it right back, you realize what you don't know, and that's the fast way to learn. So you don't necessarily have to be a guru and master to teach. Like, I mean, yeah, they said those who can't do, those who can't teach. Barner Shaw, but I mean that's always of course a pejorative way to put light on the teachers. But teaching is entirely different ball field, like ball game, ball field. Like a coach doesn't necessarily have to be a good player. So, anyways, going back to the Franciscan monks. Okay, so we have the Franciscan monks, we have the Gregorian chants, we have the Trappists, we have the Cistercian or whatever, and we have the fucking I don't know. Gregory Mendel was what, Franciscan monk? Because Franciscan monks started with what, Francis Bacon or no? Capuchin monks. Are they like, were the ones who were wearing cowls? That's what called capuchin. I don't know. This could be a stretch. So, and the Dominican monks, right? Is there a Dominican something called Dominican monks? Or I'm making shit up. Gregorian chants. Yeah, there are different orders, I guess, sects and whatnot, like freaking Coptic order and like different sects of subsects too, and all these branches and sub branches. Because what is the order for the? Well, you got your Christianity, the religion, and then you got your what like type, what's that called, denomination. You got your religion, denomination, order, sect, and member, or like community. What's the film, not the film, what do you call that, taxonomical, like yeah, taxonomical, like freaking, what do you call that, taxonomy of Christianity, or religion in general, like, well, Hinduism, and there's a lot. Buddhism probably the smattering, and Judaism, I don't think there is too many. I mean, I wonder if there's a modern Judaism or like a modern Judaism or like a Orthodox one, and Hasidic Jews, and are there Jewish monks? Is monasticism alive in Judaism? Well, they're the Hasidic, like Torah scholars, and like Shashpolaks, like who are the Talmudic scholars, and you got your Hasidic scholars in the movie Pi, the stock market and everything. That was a good movie, Darren Aronofsky, Black Swan. And then he also did Tree of Life, I think. Okay, so, and Gregory Mendel, I'm drawing blank here. What other famous monks are there? Famous medieval monks. Saint Knossos. Was Knossos a monk? Knossos? Or Kerolos, Baba Kerolos. But I don't think he was a monk. Baba Kerolos, Coptic Church, Kerolos. Knossos is like, Knossos was a place in Crete, near Crete, or was Crete a different, Mycenaean civilization, you know. Yeah, Mycenae and Atlantis, allegedly Atlantis. And who was the other guy? Harman Schliemann, some German guy, Schliemann, who like found all those Minoan civilization. Okay, Mycenaean and Minoan. Damn, all this bullshit. It's amazing how much bullshit I actually fucking know. Harman Schliemann or something who found all those. And there was the other guy who found Rosetta Stone. That was in 1922, Howard Carter. Who was Howard Zinn? Was an Israeli prime minister. It's mind-boggling how much shit I actually know, and you don't realize how much shit I actually know unless you fucking regurgitate it and like literally it's like oozes out from your mouth like a fucking foam, as if you're ODing on fucking ecstasy in a mall somewhere or something. Oh, Saint, I don't know. I'm gonna look it up. The Catholic orders of sainthood. Okay, then you got your saints, and you got your priests, and you got archdiocese, and you got your archdiocese, you got your priest, and your pope, and your fucking. Because there was a separation from Holy Roman Empire and Byzantine Empire. There was a separation, I guess, and and you have your annulment, the King Henry VIII's annulment by, and then there was the whole fucking. the demarcation thing in like Brazil. It was some line that separated. So you have your important influences by the Pope. And who was the Pope right now? Pope John Paul II? I don't even know who the Pope is right now. But whoever is that guy, is he the guy who touched the guy with the deformed, with the boils and everything? And people, I mean, well, it made headlines actually. The with boils. I mean, we have a very liberal Pope right now actually. So, anyways, and then if there was Saint Paul the second Pope, and there must be first. I don't know what he was like. Probably that was early 1900s or mid 1900s. I don't know if there was a Saint John first, assuming. And I wonder what the relationship was with Pope and Queen Elizabeth, because even Queen, they were the dominant forces in England back then, and the Pope and Queen, I mean, well, King rather, because the reign of Empress didn't began with until Victoria, right? Queen Victoria, Elizabeth rather, that Elizabeth, that Elizabeth, Shakespearean Elizabeth, I guess. Because who was the first empress? Well, Cleopatra was, and there was Queen Boudica of Iceni, or Iceni of Boudica, I forget. I don't even know what the order is. Queen Boudica of Iceni. She was a queen. I mean, and I don't even know if the Amazons are real. So, yeah, you have your first empress, like Catherine. Empress, but I'm talking history right now, and I'm not should focus more on the order of monks. So you're Catherine of like what, Russia, Queen Catherine the First, and Victoria, Elizabeth, and even before that Cleopatra. I mean, if you know, feminists should just shut the fuck up. Like there was like fucking all this. I mean, when was women really subjugated? Like fucking, they had power straight from the get go, and were there any Egyptian, like not Egyptian, well Egyptian, and then there was Greek, even Oracle of Delphi. Fucking women had powers, wielded some sort of power or not. Those Vestal virgins of the Oracle of Delphi, and yeah, someone should like, yeah. I mean, if you want to do like early feminism, that's an interesting topic to look at, like. Who were Hypatia was like a those sort of prodigy polymath, like a super genius, and you got your who was Sophie Germain. She was another prodigy. Was Sophie Germain female? I think so, because you got your Sophie Germain primes, and you got your Lord Ada Lovelace Byron. So you have, and these were before Beauvoir, Simone de Beauvoir, and Ayn Rand. I didn't even know Ayn Rand was female. I think she's female. Is she? Anyways, so you got your Saint Anselm, Saint Augustine, Saint Aquinas, Gregory Mendel, Wills, freaking. I'm sure there's some all those like weird ones, obscure ones, like freaking Saint Xavier, I guess. I mean, Xaverian, because I know that from trying to memorize the X section from Oxford English Dictionary. It's Saint Xavier. There's this whole Xaverian thought, a school of thought. Saint Xaverian. Okay. Yeah, I tried to think of Professor X as Xavier and tried. That's how it was my freaking mnemonic device, I guess. Not mnemonic device, sort of my relation. And now Xavier itself has become like a reference point. Okay. Anyways, so you got your saints. I wonder who are the famous Christian saints. Actually, I guess. Well, you got your Saint Francis of Assisi. Saint San Juan Capistrinos, and I don't know. There's so many saints, and there's the Saint. Who was the one? Arrhenius. I don't know if it is Arrhenius. They got you that. Oh, there's this saint. There's a statue I see when I drive. Like I don't want to reveal the place, the school. Well, why not? It's out in Lincoln, basically. Lincoln and fucking Harvard. There's a school. And they have the saint there. I forget the name of the saint. They have a statue. Boniface. Yeah. Saint Boniface. So I'm sure this was like early saints. And then you have Bede. Bede is like probably Bede. Bede is obviously started out as, I'm sure he started out as a monk. I wonder what starts with G. I'm sure there's some weird ones with G, like Saint, G, 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 I don't know, G, I don't know, G. I'm sure there's a one with J, because I tried to memorize the name, the list of saints ones, or like look, and I even had a Ripley's, I still do probably, like Ripley's edition of Catholic saints. Yeah, so, and there were female saints too early on. But the Mother Teresa is not the early like female saint. I mean, there were some other ones. Uh, Okay, it's gonna be interesting topic, sure, interesting topic to look at afterwards. And Saint, okay, I don't know who else. And this is why the curve starts whittling out. You get your bell curve of spike, you like brainstorm, and that's what happened when I started to, when I wanted to, want to brainstorm the list of the state names, and then cause you the weird ones you forget, you got your little, I don't know, tucked corner pocket where this hides like freaking, and you have to like rummage and search and poke and rake more and more till it pops up. Some weird ones like pop up because even just the act of reading the dictionary, you hear about all these weird orders and whatnot, like Haskism, and like, and I was researching Haskism and found out some other orders. I forget the orders, like Pythagorean type of orders, like Egyptian, like sort of like these God, I'm so drawing blank. The mystics, or like early saints and mystics, like like who's so fast and everything. Like, oh God. Mm. What else? We'll end it on. We'll end it soon. I'm just trying to think of some. I don't know. Okay, so we have your Gregory Mendel, and who was the? I mean, he was the last recognized monk, I guess, right? But there are some monasteries. Still, monasteries exist. Like, I guess I'm sure it does in modern Europe right now. Like, I'm sure it does. Yeah, why wouldn't it? Um, yeah, like Portugal, or like fucking every, even here, I think, even here, California, near me, probably there's some. I guess the nearest one is probably the, if you were to think about monastery, is the, which is very Spartan lifestyle. I was watching those I mean, saw those diorama obviously, and it's weird and it's boring. It's like you get you into it, and it's obviously to stay in a perpetual hypnotic trance, because you're is this because, and you have your ritual and whatnot. It's just like a madrasa, and so what is the order? The Vesper. Why am I talking? And what's the morning one called? Oxter means underarm, so that's not it. I mean, what is the morning one called? And then the evening and the sleep, the noctur. I don't know, nocturnal. The morning is what? This order of days where they have the supper and then the hymn time and the chanting and like freaking prayer as if, and they're like, oh my God, prayers and like, I don't know, campaignology, bell ringing if you want to start your hobby. I actually lived in a monastery once, and the Zen monastery, and that's another topic like that. I can probably make another podcast about it, like the whole Zen monastery, Dogen and whatnot. It was in Green Gulch in San Francisco for 9 days almost. But yes, but that's why, I mean, I don't know more about that, but since I studied, like, I listened to this Zen Buddhism podcast, so I have more, like, I guess more depth, sort of, if you were to allow like depth regarding that field. I mean, I'm not a Dogen expert or like a freaking Meiji era, like a PhD level like expertise or anything, but it is relatively stronger than the Christian one, because like Christian like Pelagius and the mysticism. I never delved in it, but I'm sure that's I'm probably like William James. He like William James says religious varieties of religious experience. I'm sure like that also, he also researched all the nuns and the monks who had the visions and the religious experiences and epiphanies and whatnot. because I once mentioned about nuns keeping diaries, and that's why hence their superior, highly superior autobiographical memory, and that's one way to, like, if you constantly leave detailed notes, you can have all these memories, super eidetic memory. So, anyways, so yeah, that's another thing. The order of nuns and they started getting included with the men, the boys, and you got your whole, like, the scandal right now, the Catholic, like, pedophiles and whatnot, and it devolved somehow. Now, so people associate, like, bad things. So you got your orders, and yeah, what does the big picture look like? I mean, well, probably there isn't any big picture. I mean, because what about friar? What does friar brother? There is this brotherhood, fraternity, and you got your the Rome, not Russian ones. Those are also monks. Those are the Orthodox, or, like, what's his name? The guy Jesse Isler. He went to this New York, and they had the guy who take cares of the sheep, not the sheep, the dogs, sheep, like the dogs, the shepherd the dogs rather, and that's another group. I wonder what's that called. Uh, so that's they're like, they look like freaking Russian with the beard, like typical, and that's the image you get. This Russian guys. There's some monks in Albany. Is that in New York? I don't know. So I'm trying to think of the name, but it'll come back to me. So, and the Trappist. That sounds like, I'm sure. Well, I don't know what it comes coming back to in Trappist. I'm sure I have. I should. I'm sure I looked it up at one point. Trappists and the Capuchin order. I don't know why I looked it up though. Like, just for the sake of it, or no? And you got your scribes, and what are some of the famous paintings though? Like, that depicts monk, like, and the cartographers of the society are like hunched over on your desk, and the scribe, and then with the glow of, like, halo. I'm sure there are some famous paintings there. Trappists, and P. And it starts with P. In order of monks starts with P. Okay, maybe I should end it on that note, because I'm out of stock. My cornucopia ran out. So, okay, I think it's gonna be a good excursion after I finish this and start looking up the monk orders. But it was a good, what do you call it? Not retching, like good, sort of washing out the palette, or, like, rather clearing the whole. It's almost like you take I don't even know. Like, what I was gonna say? Oh, like dumping, like, sort of, like emptying the cup. Yeah, rather emptying the cup. I've just emptied the cup.